So I have the honor to share with you the history of how this issue has been dealt with in the past. Dental amalgam was introduced in 1833 by the Krakow brothers. Mercury silver amalgam fillings, they deceptively called them royal mineral secundum because they didn't want the public to know that they were putting mercury in their teeth. In 1845, the American Society of Dental Surgeons forbade their members from using what they called poison metal fillings, made them sign a pledge. A number of them got kicked out of that society in 1848 for using mercury fillings. And because of loss of membership, the American Society of Dental Surgeons disbanded in 1856. And a new organization sprang up in its place that declared dental amalgam perfectly safe. And they changed the name from royal mineral secundum to silver amalgam, a filling material still used today, and the deception continues to this day. In 1926, famous German scientist Alfred Stock measured mercury in his own exhaled breath from set dental amalgam and documented harm to his memory from inhaling mercury. In 1931, the American Dental Association convened a committee of dentists like this one who decided that Dr. Stock was probably a Nazi and that his research was terribly flawed and he had not studied the kind of amalgam that was used in America at that time. And that silenced the debate for another 50 years. How do we respond to issues that conflict with our favorite material? Is that we denigrate the research. We change the subject to something like allergy. We set unreasonable benchmark standards such as proof of causation, and then use biased reviews and experts to limit the discussion and not debate dose. In 1957, a Swedish dentist student placed radioactive mercury-203 in 7 patients and demonstrated exposure. He conducted no experiments to determine safety, and he concluded that it was safe. Gay et al. In '79, and then Carl Savary in 1981, again found what Dr. Stock did. Mercury comes off set dental amalgam fillings. So they convened another expert panel who said studies do demonstrate just a little tiny bit is coming off when they're placed or removed. And it's probably only 1% of the population are allergic, but we don't have the data to support that. And of the 180 subjects with amalgam in this particular study, 180 subjects with amalgam, 16% of them exhibited a positive patch test to mercury chloride. None of the controls exhibit a positive patch test. I think that was done by dermatologists. And that 1984, they again said the distributed mercury into various tissues is highly variable, and there appears to be little correlation between urine, blood, and hair and the toxic effects. Interesting, we're using urine now to claim it's safe. The teeth have been removed from this animal. This is a sheep. Radioactive mercury-203 was placed in sheep, and in 30 days, mercury has spread to the hoof, kidneys, liver, heart, and jawbone. And that's why mercury from fillings is associated with periodontal disease. The advocates for mercury claim that sheep chew too much. Dr. Vimy, the science dentist, was a poor dentist, number 2 in his class, by the way. They claim that FACET is not a peer-reviewed journal. It's the most prestigious physiological journal in the United States, and there were no controls. There is no radioactive mercury-203 in the environment without a nuclear reactor. So then they repeated the experiments on monkeys. Exactly the same thing happened. And so what do we say now? Animal studies don't count. They even said that before Congress. We prefer poorly designed and highly unethical prospective studies of children. Trials looking for brain damage. Let's sign your children up for that. That is unethical. Mercury in dental amalgams chemically binds with the alloy and results in an inert substance. Amalgam is merely a mixture of metals that form weak intermetallic compounds. And this is how Germany had reviewed this. They had a whole week of scientists presenting papers and peer-reviewed papers, and that's one of them. If mercury is emitted from amalgams, it's only a little tiny bit. Only the bartender talks about a little tiny bit. 32 amalgams, an average load, scarring inputs. You know, a little teeny bit of data will destroy all your theories and estimates. So when you measure the stool of somebody with 32 surfaces, you find 263 micrograms coming out. Gee, doesn't that kind of blow a hole in our reasonable estimates? 50% of the mercury in amalgam has been found to vaporize after 5 years. Where do it go? I wonder what happened to it. Maybe people breathed out. Here's an amalgam that's 25 years old that Garbaplata touched with an instrument and then took a scanning electron micrograph. Those are droplets of mercury on the surface of an amalgam that's 25 years old. In laboratory and test tube studies with just 10 mLs of water, put an amalgam in there and you get 43 micrograms out every day for 2 years. And that's with no stimulation whatsoever. So what are we going to do with that data? Let's refuse to consider laboratory studies, nor has the FDA set a performance standard based on the amount of mercury released from the various brands. Did you know there's a wide variation in the amount of mercury released from various brands? The more copper you put in it, the more it leaks out. Dr. Stock used copper amalgam in his own mouth, or had copper amalgam, and what's our new thing in dentistry? Dispersalloy, high copper alloys. How much leaks out of them? We don't know. Small amounts of mercury emitted from amalgam are not bioavailable, but they don't want to discuss the dose. The amount of mercury in human brain tissue at the time of death is proportional to the number of amalgam fillings in the mouth. So what do you mean not bioavailable? It accumulates in critical organs. To this day, other fillings are so costly that poor people will go without care and lose their teeth. That's called fear-mongering. Here's a study of the atraumatic restoration, and what they concluded was, in the permanent dentation, the longevity of the atraumatic restoration is equal to or greater than the equivalent amalgam restoration. Many countries don't use it at all. So let's stop the fear-mongering. We have ways to fix teeth without mercury. Mercury from amalgams has not been proven to cause any specific medical disorder. I'm sorry, that's not a requirement. If you can prove that, then you're going to be talking to an attorney. Dental amalgam fillings, Rothwell found that the more fillings in your teeth, the less well you can hear, proportional to the number of amalgams in your teeth and the hearing loss. Here you go. See, that's what happens when you actually measure stuff. Dentists don't check hearing. No, it's not in our purview. Here's the composite. No difference in hearing. So what do you think? Is that an adverse reaction? Regression data shows that, yeah, you lose hearing when you have amalgams in your teeth. Evidence-based response is comprehensive and open discussion of mercury from amalgam is needed by medical experts, not a dental issue. Daily dose is irrelevant now that harm has been shown. Any performance standard must not allow mercury to be released at all. California warns the patients that mercury is known to the state of California to cause infertility and birth defects. And what are we doing? We respond to scientific evidence with propaganda, denigrate the research, change the subject to allergy, set unreasonable performance standards, and use biased reviews to throw out all the data from the last 50 years. And I will cede my time to the next speaker.